call the meeting to order. I'd like to call Calvin to give her invocation, lead the pledge.
If you'll bow with me, please. Heavenly Father, as we come to you today, we come to you so thankful. We thank you for a day of where our students have gone out, and we're going to showcase some students in a while, but also some students that perform so well in FFA. Lord, we thank you for the guidance and the wisdom that you give us as we deliberate and make decisions that affect our students and our staff. As we give all these things, and once again, as we're just so thankful to live in Levy County and that we're here. We ask all these things in your name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, it's good to see the crowd. First item is adoption of the agenda. Is there any additions or corrections?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are going to reschedule F until the March 12th meeting, so they will not be attending tonight.
Move adopted the agenda as presented.
Second.
We moved and seconded. We adopt the agenda as rearranged, striking F. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. We'd like to welcome any visitors, all visitors. Now is a good time if you had want to address the board public comment. Now would be the time to do that. Seeing none, we'll move on. So item G. Our avid. I just waited.
Here I am.
Our avid presentation from Williston Elementary School.
Okay. So I'm Priscilla Fugate. I'm the AVID coordinator at Williston Elementary. I'm trying to pull up this presentation on my very slow computer. Okay, we're good. So we're the only school in Levy County that is an AVID elementary school. AVID Elementary is very different than the high school. The high school, they have electives. We're actually school-wide. This year, we are implementing only 5th grade, but we're using a lot of the strategies through 3rd and 4th as well. And we brought some friends. They're going to share some of the strategies that we're using. One of the biggest things that we're focusing on this year school-wide is the growth mindset. Are you ready? Okay.
Sorry, you want to talk about do you all? No, just the growth mindset.
You can take your time. Yeah.
A fixed mindset is when you think your abilities can only go so far and your abilities won't change. An example of a fixed mindset is that I'm either good at it or I'm not. And failure is the limit to my abilities.
The meaning of growth mindset is when you don't give up and you keep showing the good for you. An example is failure is an opportunity to grow. I can learn to do anything I want.
I'm either good at it or I'm not.
And which one do we want to be?
A growth mindset.
So we definitely want to have a growth mindset, and that's what we're really promoting 3 through 5. And they'll come back in a little bit and show some more strategies that we're using school-wide and just in 5th grade. We also have a video that we would like to share because we can't obviously bring our whole school, of some different things that are going on in our school that are based around AVID. Hopefully this will be all enough. No. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Are there speakers? Are there speakers? Is it on? Are it on? Let's see if it works without the speakers on.
They weren't here.
Here goes right here.
It's working on my computer though, but not on the speakers.
I've got some handy.
Is it plugged in on your computer?
It was, but when I unplug it, it works.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Let's see.
You bring the microphone down to the.
Does the microphone work? Where did it come out? Oh
Just give us just a second.
no. Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, we'll continue talking until it starts. So over the summer, 10 teachers, all of fifth grade, most of fifth grade, the ones that have been there last year, principal, assistant principal, reading coach, guidance counselor, all went to the Summer Institute, which was a 3-day training in Tampa. And it was like a crash course for Abbott Elementary. Because we are a feeder school to the high school, we were able to have a 2-day training, the same training that we got down in Tampa. Abbott came to our school and trained the rest of our teachers. We've also been to Pathways. So Pathways are continuing education in Abbott. I just went to one in Orlando for academic language and vocabulary. And so a lot of Avid is things that we're already doing, that we're just putting a name to, and carrying it on to the high school and the middle school. So we're hoping that if we're starting in 3rd grade, that these kids are going to be more ready for college and careers. I also have our parent pamphlets that we're sending home.
What I like about Avid as a teacher is it wasn't a lot of new stuff. It wasn't anything I hadn't seen before. But what Avid's done is they pulled like the best from everything that we've already seen, and they're calling it, they have the same language. So in 3rd grade, what a teacher may be doing, she's going to call it the same thing as the 4th grade teacher's going to call it, and the 5th grade teacher's going to call it. And it just kind of unifies our vocabulary around school, and then when they do get up to middle school and high school, they already know what things, they're using the same language up there too. So it just kind of unifies, and it's a culture that we're building at our school in everything, and from the decor to our bulletin boards to our everyday conversation with the kids. And I've seen a huge impact with our kids with that, just preparing them, knowing that it doesn't matter what their circumstances are, that they can still succeed in life. And it doesn't have to be college, it can be career. I'm pushing really hard the career aspect, because not all of our kids are going to go to college or want to go to college. And, I mean, welders make twice as much as I do. So,
Okay, so hopefully our video is going to work now.
I like Avid because it helps me prepare for my future. When I grow up, I want to be a vet and go to Florida College to get my bachelor's degree. I want to be a vet because I love dogs. My favorite is the German Shepherd.
We use 3-column notes in vocabulary and reading. The way that we find author's point of view is we go to the text and then we see if he's positive or negative and find his main idea about the whole story. Here's an example of 3-column notes that we use in vocabulary. We have a word, a reading, and a picture.
Great job, London. That deserves an and. Boom, boom, clap on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I would like to be an architectural engineer because they help design buildings and build them. In Miss Hart's class, we use an activity called philosophical chairs. There's a positive side and there's a negative side. And so there's someone that gets on the positive side and there's someone that gets on the negative side. So someone on the positive side or the negative side gets this stressful, and they state their statements about why they like it or why they don't like it. And then they would toss it to someone on the disagree or agree side to debate.
You can overwork your brain, like Joe said, and also the human body needs exercise.
Growth mindset. Never give up. Yes, sir. Never give up. Yes, sir. Never give up. Yes, sir.
A growth mindset is to never give up. At Wilson Elementary School, our teachers say that it's okay for you to not understand it the first time, but you will get there.
Went to the high school and taught the boys how to tie ties. We don't have a lot of ties at our school, but the When I Grow Up Wednesday is their way to express themselves, where they want to go to college or what they want to be when they grow up. That was one thing in there. And then the other thing that we didn't really put in there is Wicker. It's a huge part of AVID. It's writing, inquiry, WIC, collaboration, organization, and reading. And so with the Summer Institute, they've given us a book, and it has tons of strategies to do under each of these categories. And as teachers, we're expected to incorporate multiple strategies throughout our lessons in these categories. So I have my two friends, they're going to come back up, and they're going to talk about Wicker a little bit, and SLANT is what we also use.
Slant, the S is for sitting up, the L is for leaning forward, the A is for asking questions, N is for nodding your head, T is for tracking, taking notes, and to talk to the teacher.
Refresh our memories.
The W stands for writing, the I stands for inquiry, the C stands for collaboration, the O stands for organization, and the I stands for reading.
Is that all? Anything else? Are you good? Okay. And yeah, you can get your binders. So, like I said, we've only implemented 5th grade. Next year, we'll fully implement 4th and 3rd. But all of our children have this huge binder, but it has everything in it that they need. If y'all want to go show them, you can while I talk. That works? So it has, I know, normally you just have your red folder that comes home the weekly. That's in there. They have their planner in there. We'll let you go. You're doing good, Ricky, keep going.
That's what you got to do.
So what are all these, what are all these now?
Phew, I was worried there wasn't anything in these first pages.
Do you like having everything in spot?
Yes, sir.
Let's just see, are we in December? Let's get to December.
That means that I passed my spelling test.
Ooh, you like that? No homework. No vocabulary. All right. Sweet.
Yes, sir.
You look strong. You got it right up. You do everything we got.
Well, we do it like every morning. Thank you. My pencil project was my pencils, erasers, my headphones. I have my binder on that day, so I have her on what I'm doing.
So they,
Should we check yours? Is there anything other than
I
me?
have my
What's the G stand for? Good goofy golf or anything like that?
There's my red folder, like what I was teaching my mom. And left my folder is what I'm still working on. And I have my math journal, I have all of my math,
That's a good thing.
all of my tests.
That's your favorite?
Yes, sir.
Definitely your favorite teacher, right? Hands down.
I have my reading.
And every day you take it, you always.
I
Keeps
have
you
all of
organized.
my tests.
that's nice.
It's very nice.
It always grades 100, you rock.
That's not bad.
I have
No.
science. My science journal.
Good.
Both of you are fifth grade?
They're both in fifth grade. So the only difference between third and fourth grade, with their binders is they don't keep their journals in theirs. Fifth grade just made the executive decision to go full on. And this would mirror something that you would see at the middle school and high school with their added elective class. So we decided to get them ready for that there. They have all their assessments in there, I mean, as you guys seen, so. If any questions?
How many fifth grade teachers do we have?
2 here, but we have 8 total. Sorry, obviously. We have 8 here, or 8 teachers total.
Gotcha. Any problems on buy-in?
On what?
Buy-in?
Fine.
No, the kids are real, I mean, like, they are really, really eating it up, and we really push the individualness, the achievement through being your effort, and we talk about it's a daily conversation in our classes, and they are really taking that on themselves, and that's what I love most about Avid, is just making them be independent, because, like, to us, they're still our babies, and we're fixing to send them to middle school next year, and it's like, to the wolves, you know, and they're gonna have 7 teachers and a huge school, and we just wanna prepare them as much as possible and just have them take responsibility for themselves, and it really seems to be making a huge difference.
And teacher buy-in has been fine as well. There's so many strategies that I use in my classroom already, and we're just putting a name to it. And so that's how we started when we presented to our staff, that it's not something else that you're gonna have to do. It's something that you're already doing, and we're just putting it under an umbrella with the same name, so.
Ladies, do either one of you know what, I know you know what WIPR means, do you know what AVID stands for?
Did you say July?
How about I help you advance?
You used to?
Via,
Mhm. Individual
development.
determination.
It's kind of like you're going
It's an AVID.
you're doing this study with the growth mindset. And what does the growth mindset tell us to do? Okay, never give up. So that's advancement through individual determination. In other words, who's in charge? Who's in charge of making sure that you get all these opportunities and that you do well? Yes, that's right.
What do you see difference on campus last year to this year because of this program?
Reagan, do you want to say, because you told me in the class today, what did you notice from 4th grade to 5th grade? You did say that you felt like you were what? You were more organized? You notice anything else? No? I know that the binder, I feel like the binder has made a huge difference. This is only my second year in 5th grade, but there is nothing in their desk. Like, when I give them a paper, they know exactly where to put it. Now, the training period was a lot because they don't want to put it in their black folder if we're still working on it. They just want to shove it in their desk or in their backpack. So the training part was difficult, but once you get it down, it's just like a well-oiled machine. They know when they finish with something, they know exactly where it goes. And they're ready to switch. They're ready to switch to go to the next class, and they just shut the binder and put it up, and they're gone. So,
And those of us that were part of the Thrive strategies and the Thrive training through NEFAC, this mirrors a lot of what it is. So for that training to be embedded in there, we've seen a lot of growth with our students and the instruction in the classroom alone.
A lot less wasted time. They know where everything is.
I thought the video was great. There was
Yes.
two things that I really saw in there. I saw at the beginning of the parliamentary procedure team as they were debating around. Did you see that, Mr. Adams?
I sure did.
Yes, sir. And then the second thing is, the organization's great, but that we got a weightlifting class starting.
Practice now.
To tote that around all day, every day.
Yeah, and we were a little worried about that in the beginning, and we went to a school in Kissimmee and watched them, and every kid had one, and they could tell you everything about it, and they brought it to you, and I asked the kids, I'm like, is this a problem, carrying this around, because that was our first thought, like, there's no way they can do this, and the kids were like, no, it's fine, it's great, we like it, and so I think they like knowing where their stuff is, they don't have that panic of where is something at, and so training them up in 3rd grade with a littler binder, and like adding more to it each year, so by the time they get to 5th grade, that's no big deal for them, so.
And they're articulating well. We have adults that can't stand before the camera and have the conversation that they presented today.
well, I was a little worried.
Will you two stand up and introduce yourself? So I know who you are, but would you introduce yourselves? You've done a great job.
I'm Reagan Hancock. I'm Andrea Lewis.
And there are two of my wonderful children that have volunteered to come tonight, and I'm very appreciative of them.
Reagan Hancock and
Reagan Hancock and Avery Lewis.
And then we got a gentleman who wants to be an architect.
We have a gentleman that was supposed to present his binder and left it at home. So that's how we got here.
But we know he's headed places, he's done real well, so.
Thank you for coming and sharing. We look forward as it goes through because there's no doubt at the high school level that that program's been successful and because student buy-in and teachers and watch kids, students be reinforced positively. I had several at the high school level, so I know that continuity, if we get it going all the way through, is going to be good.
I'm really hoping come June, when scores come out, that there's a big difference, so that's
Thank you
our,
all for being leaders.
Yes, here, here.
What are you reading?
thank you
Cash,
for
what you
having
reading?
us.
Son of a
Percy Jackson? Okay.
All right, since you didn't bring your binder, it's your turn.
She was really excited that he forgot his binder, but remembered his book.
Thank you all. That was a very good presentation. We'll move to item H, which is SGA's Representative Charlie Stone update from the Bronson Middle High School. Mr. McCarty, you want to introduce?
Yes.
Good evening, board. Good evening, everyone. On October 2nd, Representative Charlie Stone came to our school to meet with 3 different groups. His first meeting was with our SGA members who will be represented tonight, who will give you a little bit of their experience. It was a small meeting, but he went and started in, and it was probably one of the greatest meetings I've been in a long-time educationally. We were all just excited right from the very beginning. And then he moved into the media center where he met with the American government classes for our seniors. And that was a little bit larger group, but he changed it a little bit so that it would work for that group. And then we went to the cafeteria for the third meeting of the morning with all of our upperclassmen. And it was really educational. We all learned so much. But I wanted some of my student government members to come in and just give their experience. So I wanted to start with my student government president, Chrissy Coughlin, is going to come up. She's actually going to read, come on. She's going to read one of our Lady Eagle basketball players who's out playing right now. Gave us something. Could you have your paper? Good. This is our student government president. She learned so much about how government works and how to get people to do things and work together. And she could tell you a lot of things about that, but I think she's going to stick with this.
So, yeah, like he said, Jasmine couldn't be here because she is our Lady Eagle basketball player, and she's also a class president for the seniors. But she wrote, Representative Stone was very impactful to the students at Bronson Middle High School. From the moment he opened his mouth, I was completely engrossed with the topic at hand. Representative Stone helped to give us insight into the world of politics and made it so easy for us to comprehend the subjects at hand. He helped me understand my role in politics, also while engaging students of all ages to think of how they can help locally to improve our schools, rights, etc. Mr. Stone broke the information down in such a way that was interesting as well as inviting. He made everyone feel as if they were important, also while helping me myself to excel in wanting to get into the world of politics. Representative Stone became personal with us and began to talk about things he and himself has endured, such as the process it takes to get into a committee, which includes signing up for several places, and the Senate's choosing which they want on committees. Even though the decision isn't entirely the representative's choice, it's still something that we got to learn that most representatives wouldn't think to talk about. Representative Stone made a very intimate and comfortable environment, and I'm extremely happy we as Bronson Middle High School were fortunate enough to meet him.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Saban, and I'm in the sophomore class, the vice president. When Representative Stone came, he was very inviting, and he was getting very personal with us and giving real examples about the stuff that he did and worked with. Being a class officer, it kind of gave me an idea about the positions that you can kind of be a part of while you're in office. And just a real example that he provided to us about a bill that was passed was private information for whenever you pre-register to vote. Something that was going on was adults were misusing the information that was being presented, and the bill stopped the information from being public, so adults can't use that anymore. It protected the children's identities, ages, and addresses, so it would be safe and concealed. Thank you.
My name is Mackenzie Saban, and I am a senior representative. When Representative Stone came in and spoke to us about what his role in government was, it was important to me because not a lot of people know what goes on behind doors whenever they're voting for bills and stuff, and he kind of dumbed that down a little bit for people who didn't really understand. We don't get taught that much in school about bills and stuff being passed, so he really brought in the perspective. Hi, my name's Alyssa Jo Strickland, and I'm gonna kind of sum up what everybody is saying. When Representative Stone came and talked to us, he really did open up a lot. There is only so much teachers can do that in the classroom with teaching us and with showing us how processes happen in government. When he came and he talked to us, when he first talked to like the small group, it was very informational. What was it? What was the first thing he talked to us about? Yeah, he really got him into it. He was very interested in the role of government. He talked to us about that and how he wanted us to kind of look at it as being officers in a government position and stuff. But yeah, and we do hope, and looking at like in the bigger and like the bigger groups and stuff, looking around and seeing my classmates and seeing that like them actually being interested in it and like not talking and stuff, it really was nice. And I do hope in the future that the students that in the younger grades do have the chance that we got. So thank you so much for listening.
One last interesting point about this group. We did not have a staff leader for this group at the beginning of the year. Asked and nobody came up, so they decided they would come to a faculty meeting. When they came to our faculty meeting, they addressed the faculty directly and said, look, we need someone to help us. Is there anyone in this room that would do that? And I'd like to say that Ms. Laura Nelson did volunteer for that, so she's our SGA our staff representative here. So if you'd like to come up and say a few things,
Yes, sir.
then we'll be done.
Hello, I'm Laura Nelson, and I'm the new Mrs. Noble. I don't think improved, but Hola. I would just like to say that when I observed Representative Stone in the meeting, the small meeting in the media center with more of the SGA representatives and this was the World History class, I was so impressed with his attitude and how he addressed the students. I think at first he kind of came in as, this is what I saw sitting there, as an adult, looking at children who were 11th and 12th graders. He did become very personal in the sense that he really wanted them to understand what it is like to have to make huge decisions and what it is like to have to take into account all of the people in his district that he's representing. So I felt he was very fair, and he talked to them as though they weren't young and couldn't understand. It was a wonderful experience, and one of my SGA students who is not here tonight even came up to me and said, you know what, after listening to him, I feel like I want to go into political science. So he had a huge impact on the students who heard him. Many of the students who were in the initial group that led him around, my student government students, they volunteered, they came in, they looked wonderful, they were very impressive, and I wish more of them could have been here tonight to tell you how much of an impact he had on them and I believe the school. So it was a great experience, and I hope that it can be repeated again and with other schools. I don't know if he got to other schools in the county, but anyway, we were very honored to have him come and make such a difference. Thank you.
Just one comment, because I did attend that day, and I think one of the young ladies mentioned it. That I think really impacted the kids is that they really encouraged them to become involved in their local politics, whether it's school board members or county commissioners or anything else, but just related to them. And I think, you know, that was very interesting to them and very encouraging to me. So I thought it was very good. He spoke well to the different audiences that he was addressing. It was a very good day. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for serving, please. I guess you all have, as you started to learn the process of the political world, which starts in SGA is a great opportunity, FBLA and FFA, and you develop as leaders. That process is important because you all, as you move on and graduate, and your children become in school, they'll fall under the jurisdiction and the guidelines and the laws that are made in Tallahassee, and that process is important. I would ask as we work on our legislative, maybe as we do some of these workshops, we could help bring some of you all in to help us understand what's going on in the classroom better, so we go to Tallahassee and help work in legislation. You all can be a major part of that process for us. So, thank you. I tell you, if it's okay with everybody, we'll take a 5-minute recess. I know some of you probably want to head back towards home and get ready to get your homework done, get your habit all ready for tomorrow, right? So that's it, we'll take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. We'll call the meeting back to order. We're at item I, which is request for approval to adopt and amend the following school board policies: safe 3.06 safe and secure schools, 3.101 religious expression in public schools, 5.04 requirements of original entry, 6.18 approval of leaves, 10.06 purchase procurement for school. Mr. Lott.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, we have brought this before you about a month ago. They've been on the agenda. There was one suggestion that we make some changes to 3.06 safe and secure schools. There was some language that was stricken and some language that was added because of that suggestion, I believe by Mr. Turner at the time. Remember that these, all of these proposed additions, with the exception of the approval of leaves, do come because of statutory requirements and changes in statute, or in the case of the federal, the Food and Nutrition Services, more of a federal change, but still a change in legislation which requires us to make these considerations and changes in policies. So at this time, we are asking for the adoption of these policies.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve item A, amendments and corrective additions to the board policies as listed. Is there any discussion?
Terry, what's got a question?
What change was made to the language of the safe schools?
There was some changes there where we struck some language, tried to make it clear in regard to when kids are suspended or in an alternative setting, what they are allowed to do, what they are allowed to attend as far as extracurricular activities and even being on school grounds when they're suspended.
I've expressed concern before about the religious expression thing. I'm all for prayer in school, all for God. I don't have a problem with a Muslim child praying in school. I don't have a problem with children expressing. What concerns me in that language is the equal access to school facilities by various organizations. I believe Senator Baxley has a great idea, but to me it's a policy that we're better off not having, because it opens up the potential by having this there of outside problems, and that just concerns me. And I realize it's state mandated, but those two little lines right there worry me. And that's all I have.
I think those sentiments have been echoed by each of us, so we understand and we will abide by the law of state latitude.
I would Well, I will go so far as to say I cannot support that. I'm for all the others, but I just feel like it's opening up a can of worms that can cause us some problems. I am required by the laws of the state of Florida to support the laws of the state of Florida. But ultimately, Cameron Asbell answers to a higher entity, and I believe that this is inviting a problem. The intent is well, but I believe it's inviting a problem that I feel like I have to answer to higher. So I'm not for this particular policy.
Mr. Wood?
I was just wondering what that problem is. You said equal access to school facilities.
Well, I am no attorney, but me as just layperson reading here, it says shall give religious groups access to the same school facilities for assembling as given to secular groups. So in other words, any entity that calls themselves a religion, in my loose interpretation of this, can come out and say, we want to use these facilities. Now that's all well and good when the average person running around says, oh, the Baptist Church wants to use this, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes wants to do this, we're for that. But what happens when the Church of Satan shows up?
Mr. Lane, let me ask a clarifying question. Now, first off, I know under the First Amendment, all this stuff is there already, correct?
Yes, sir.
But it's also, the door is open when you have a student group, it's not open to any group, am I correct on that?
Sure, I mean, it depends on if we as a district have opened a limited public forum for the group. And the student groups, we're not going to discriminate against on the fact that they're expressing religion or not religion. What we're concerned about is outside community groups wanting to access our facilities.
Sure. But the outside community groups that we have, currently we have a process in place for anybody that wants to use our facilities. But if it's a student group, is where it is to me, I think, where this language applies. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
That's my fault.
But where does it say student group?
That hasn't been road tested on a court case yet that I've seen.
And there's bound to be somebody that wants to road test it, because that's the way people are.
For example, we had various political organizations that want to use our facilities this year. They paid.
All I can tell you is we didn't write it.
That's
It comes from NEFAC. It's, we did look at state statute, and it's pretty much word for word. I mean, that's what it says. If you pull up state statute, that's what it's going to say.
So I want to express because I'm not Mr. Lane, I had a conversation with the superintendent, and it's addressed in the First Amendment, it's addressed in Florida law. We have to abide by that. Why does it have to be in our policy?
Right, why does it have to be in
And so, that hadn't been tested yet either. We had this discussion, Mr. Laney, and if the board so chooses that not go in the policy, then you're subject to, give me the terminology.
Well, you'd be out of compliance with what the law directs us to do. I'm not clear yet what mechanisms the Department of Education would apply to try to get us into compliance.
It's a force down from the state.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let's go.
Who defines whether it's a religion or not? I mean, satanic, is that a religion, I guess, who defines that? Is there a definition? How do I can say, I'm the religion of Linda Cooper?
Yes, you can, and that's okay.
And that's a recognized religion? Seriously?
Ultimately, it's going to be up to probably a court, a federal judge.
And just in my opinion, unless we have a student group there that's the Linda Cooper religious group, then this doesn't apply. They can pay to use the building. Now, this federal law also says Boy Scouts can come. Right. But
So any outside group would have to pay to use schools?
they would have to follow our policies, yes, sir.
Outside of the student group.
Right, outside of a student-led group. Outside of a student organization.
Okay. Of course, that doesn't alleviate his concerns, even if they can still purchase
I would first say, one of the biggest problems, and it's not a problem, one of the beautiful things about living in a country of freedom is we have freedom. It really is. But I just feel like, just like Mr. Etheridge said, it's state law, it's federal law. Why do we have to have a policy? Sometimes some of the best policies are policies that aren't written. It's just, we know it.
We do, but it is given, and it's a directive for us to have this in our policy book.
And this falls back, to me, it falls back to a bigger item, the home rule thing. It's this today, what will it be tomorrow?
What's the punishment if you don't?
I don't know.
Probably don't get paid.
So so the procedure would be is we're audited on an annual basis, and then the findings in the audit would be, and then that would be whatever the Department of Education chose to put us into compliance, or told us to get into compliance, or whether that be fines, or what that would be. I mean, that would be at their discretion, right, Councilman?
Potentially loss of funding, is that?
Correct.
Could be.
Not being able to participate in the FEFP.
It's a tough thing. It's tough.
It is.
Any further discussion? We have a motion second. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. Item J, 2018-19 bus driver handbook. Wayne.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. We're asking that you approve some changes to our bus driver handbook. And if you have any questions, we'll answer those.
When's the last time this has been updated?
It's been more than a year. I believe it was July 24th of 2017.
I just thought, just for knowledge, are there any governors on our school buses?
Yes.
Okay.
They're computer programmed.
Well, I understand the handbook, and we don't drive over 55 miles an hour. I just wondered if there was any limitation that would require them to not.
Okay, well, there was a legal limitation, but that ended 5 years ago. We held our buses back for 5 years. And there's no data to show there's a need for that.
Every bus engine has a governor on it. It can be adjusted by a computer on the newer buses. The older buses would be a little more complicated, and we wouldn't attempt to make any changes to those.
Just another one, just for curiosity, and I see where there's no more than a 5-minute idle time. Is there a way to monitor that with technology now? Can you?
Actually, it can be monitored from the, when the technicians hook the computer to the engine, they can pull that information.
On a separate topic, how many bus drivers and aides do we have right now?
We have 55 bus drivers, 55 routes, and we have 11 aides. In addition to that, there are substitute drivers and aides.
Thank you, Mr. Masters.
Any further questions? Good. This is an action item.
Yes, sir.
Move adoption of the updates by staff.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, it's not related to the vote, but, so, Mr. Masters, you said you've been riding the bus route since you changed the job and the different ones. Tell me, I mean, do you have any observations or anything you want to share with us about the routes?
We're a very rural area, and over time, routes kind of expand themselves as a student gets added here and there. I think it's very beneficial riding the routes. You kind of, after you've ridden it a time or two, then tighten it in and make it more efficient. It conserves time. That time is money, but it's also time that students are spending on the bus unnecessarily. We have good professional drivers. I feel good about one item which you didn't particularly raise a question, and that is the posted speed. I feel good when I see a school bus, but a person that's on their way to work, they see a school bus and they're maybe running a little late already, and it's running 5 miles under the speed limit by our previous policy, and that can generate stress after 2 or 3 stops, and then behind the bus, they get thinking about passing on the yellow line or passing with the lights out, so. Our buses are in good mechanical condition, and our drivers are receiving really good training. Mr. Wayne is doing a great job with that.
Just for the board's information, we just received 5 new buses.
Thank you. I appreciate you telling us that. Thank you very much.
Can I just piggyback off that? So I'm sorry. I will say that I did witness one time where there was about 5 or 6 cars behind the bus, and the driver pulled over to allow those cars to go on by. So I know that's always appreciated, people that may be not budgeting their time and be running late, so.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure you drop kids off on major US highways, right, US 27A, 81, US 41. Is there a minimum distance between stops on major US highways?
There is a recommendation of 1/8 of a mile,
It's not much.
but by law it would have to be at least 200 feet.
Well, I had an experience once where I hit the back of the bus. What happened was I wasn't paying attention, that's what happened. But I mean, the bus stopped, and I thought, I didn't think there was another stop, just another 150 feet ahead, but there was. That's why I was asking the question, how close are the stops? Because you can get hurt, somebody can get hurt like but I guess you don't have any choice. It always looks dangerous to me on these major US highways with fast moving traffic and buses. I know they have the lights and everything, but it always looks dangerous to me.
We have to stop and let them off though.
Yep.
And we painted them bright yellow. Strobe lights all over the top.
Big red lights.
We have alarms that go out both sides of them and flash red. I know, but being part of an insurance, distracted driving is a major issue nowadays. It's, and I know nationally press over the past several months with not honoring school buses stopped has become, and I think we're gonna see fines increased, and which should be, because we're not in that big a hurry.
And we're actually looking at and have discussed the possibility, especially when we get some new buses in. So with the addition of some cameras on the outside, that when the buses do get passed and they have the arm out, that gets recorded and we can see the license plate.
So we have our new buses out on the road.
They're getting set up for the 2-way radios, and tags have been ordered.
And how long has it been since we've had buses?
Last year.
Last year? But before that, it was a really long time, years and years and years. I know we went without buses.
I think when I first came on, I saw you guys, I think when I first came on, we were talking about 55 buses in the 10-year, the buses work 10 years. So, it takes 5 buses a year, if I remember correctly, for us to continue, and it's been some time since buses have been purchased.
And we have done a good job of, I don't want to say consolidating routes, but making routes more efficient. Several years ago, we had 82 bus routes.
So you had 5 new buses have cameras that will show if somebody passes?
No, sir.
No?
No, they do not have those, no, sir.
I thought, what did you say is gonna have?
That's what we're looking at for the future.
Oh,
That one that you come up behind, Terry.
Council?
I won't say what I was looking at, what I didn't.
I was just gonna comment briefly that there is that concern when you're on the highway, and it would be nice if maybe the bus could pull over and drop the children off on the side road, but the problem is most of those side roads don't have any opportunity for the bus to turn back around, and there's even a bigger concern for the safety of everybody, that people on the students on the bus and oncoming traffic are trying to get the bus back up to speed, coming back onto a highway that's 55 or 65 miles an hour. That's just not practical. So the best solution is to have the bus stop, put all the visibility signs out, rather than having them pull off on a side road.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pastor.
We'll move on to item K, is discussion of board workshop.
Yes, sir. I emailed you out some dates here sometime back. One of the things that you requested is a workshop on the ESC policies and procedures. And I emailed you out a date of December 19th, or excuse me, December 17th for that, and from 10 to 12. So that is number one. And the other one, that back when we had the school improvement plans, a follow-up to that as far as how the schools are doing and some different things that we're doing. So I'm proposing the date of January 31st. And that will involve 9 schools, so we will start at 9 a.m. in the morning and go until we're done. It might be a working lunch or, so.
So we're
December 13th, December 17th, I think is be a pretty hard date. And we'd like to do it on January 31st. That's the date the principals will have to do it.
What's the time on the 17th?
10,
10 to 12.
10, 12.
So we're gonna have an ESE workshop,
Yes, ma'am.
and what administration or staff will be involved, and
Yes, ma'am.
sure needs to happen.
And the other one is an update as far as the school improvement plans and all the things that we discussed that you, when you approved the plans. And we've got a process in place where we're monitoring and the student improvement. And we want to share with you where we're at.
What time on the 17th?
The 17th is 10 o'clock. 10 to noon. Here, right here, yes, sir. And we would like to be able to take, and since it's a board workshop, make it a square out here and sit down so we can talk to each other and listen. And there won't be any action on that, it's an informational meeting.
And go ahead and put down January the 31st.
January 31st at 9 a.m. And I can't see each presentation taking more than 30 minutes, but, because that's a lot of talking. But some of y'all do a lot of listening. So, so it'll go when it goes.
Right. Does that need to be a voted item on those workshops?
No, it can be scheduled, we don't have to vote on it specifically, we just need to notice it. I've got a conflict for the 17th, but I'll get coverage. Because I understand we gotta get a lot of people there.
And I'd like to make, to be quite honest with you, some board workshops a way to work on some things that we're doing, so that we can share more information with you on a regular basis and have more conversations.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. I think so too.
All right. That wraps the board workshops up.
Yes, sir.
We moved to item L, and that's the minutes from the November 13th and 20th board meetings. Is there any addition or corrections to the minutes? If there are no addition or corrections, I'll see.
Yes, you got that one project number, don't you?
Don't you the minutes?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Move approval of the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the November 13th and 20th board meeting minutes. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Okay, moving on to item M, the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, change page 4, 6. Just moving along. The sub is going to be paid from project number 14890.
So, item 6, that would be E6.
E6.
E6 will be changed, the project number will be paid from 14892.
14890. We're not going to change it. We're going to add that as a second one.
Add, okay.
The mileage is paid from 15322, but the sub is going to be paid from 14890.
And just FYI, that is a reimbursement project. Okay. So we get reimbursed for that.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I get, Mr. Chairman, just go ahead and, Ms. Hires, can you go ahead and address 1A, 6, and 7, please? This one we spoke about earlier today.
Yes, sir. 6 and 7, we had an employee come in, start, and she was being hired she was moving from Lake City to Chiefland by Christmas, but she decided in 24 hours that she didn't want to spend her money on the gas for that time period, so she started one day and resigned the next day. And so without a phone call even to the principal, but just to a person in the front office, that's how she resigned.
Did she have another school?
No, she didn't say that, but her family is relocating to Chiefland Elementary, so we're waiting to see if her name pops up if she applies for something else once she gets moved, but I think.
Big circle.
See.
Okay.
I would question that, so I want to make sure that we went ahead and said something.
Thank you.
All right, we'll start on this end, Ms. Wilkins.
Well, I think the question's in the consent agenda, but I really have another question related to staffing, and that's our sub issue. And that we were gonna have a presentation and have it brought back to the board, and where are we on that?
We are moving ahead, and actually we met again today. We have a presentation coming to you, the January 15th meeting from the, for the option that you approved for us to pursue at the last board meeting. And so their Frontline is coming to give a presentation to you, and we're moving ahead.
Okay. Thank you. All the other questions have been answered. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly?
Where are we with our openings? Do you have an idea?
Yes, sir. We have a total right now of, we have 12 teachers open right now, but we also have several subs that will become teachers. And so we have some of those people are in classrooms right now that they will be graduating in December this month. And so then they'll have to take their tests and get their certification. So they will, probably by January, towards the end of January, they will have their certificates and they will become teachers. So you'll see this drastically drop. We have one reading coach opening right now in 7/8.
Just for Ms. Brookins and Mr. Etheridge, for the young man we hired, he just got his photo ID today. He's a chief from high school graduate, will be teaching at Williston Middle School.
Who is that?
His last name is it Murphy? Can't be.
Yes.
Graduated in 2011.
Gotcha.
Comes to us from Marion County.
Mr. Breezy, I see we got a transfer to you. So does that catch you? Were we with your groundskeeper? So that's replacing Mr. Barron's?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that-
Yes, sir. And I think he's going to be, he's going to be helpful to us in a number of ways. It's going to be hard to replace Eddie for what he did. So I think it's going to be a good addition.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Asbell?
The two things I had questions on were previously answered. So I'm good.
Ms. Gomez? Just general comment, it's good, we've talked about attendance of students, but it's good to see that our people are getting outside the county for further training, and I know I have mixed feelings about sometimes that continued education, I should say, I think is important, and our people being a part of those on these administrative leaves are important to me.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I would be remiss without pointing out, so, and not to steal Ms. Perkins' thunder, but she may want to talk about F1. The student government from Chiefland Middle High School went on a little mission trip over to Panhandle, Fort St. Joe, so I just really appreciate seeing them. So I know that they had a cake and pie auction that we supported, so, and good to see, so them going over there and just doing some good. It's not, doesn't have anything to do with taking a test, just has to do with being a good human being, so just commend them, so.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Ms. Cooper?
Are you still conducting exit interviews with these teachers and aides leaving? I mean, I'm staying in leave after a short amount of time, a few months. I know we'd asked about this before, but I can't come to every meeting. Are you still conducting exit interviews and finding out why the quick turnover? I mean, what's
And I
all
will
these
say we
months?
miss you when you're not here too, Ms. Cooper.
That's fine, if you could deny me, because I know you miss me.
Yes, we are. We're still doing that. And as a matter of fact, we're trying something different. We're actually, when we get that delete status, we're sending a digital survey to these folks. Because we found out that some of them don't want to turn in an exit interview to their administration in the front office.
No, I understand that, that's
So-
why I'm asking how you're.
So we're trying this, and we've gotten some really good feedback. Some of our recent people have moved, or their spouse moved, so we've had that going on. But others have given us some good insight, and so I think the school climate, you know, we always want to promote that, and but some people choose to give us an exit interview, and some people choose not
Well, I understand, I was just curious if there was a trend or something that was going on. At one time, there were so many on the agenda, there's only 3 on this one, but it looks like it's calmed down a little bit, I don't
Yeah.
know. Okay.
Thank God.
Are there any?
You've got 12 openings for teachers right now, is that right?
That's what was stated.
Is that a lot? Or is that?
It's not exactly what you said, Mr. Ray.
Okay.
We have, in those classrooms, there are folks that are, all the teachers except for passing the teacher's certification exam. And so once that happens, so they will be certified teachers. So they're substitutes in those classrooms which turn into teachers.
7, was that number that you said? 7?
Well, there's a total of 12 openings, but I would say probably 7 of those would be left after these transitions take place. And actually, I was in an HR meeting last week with NEFACT in our county, our district. We have some of the best numbers of any place around. So, I mean, I want every position filled. I'm not saying that, but we're trying to move in the right direction.
But the reality is we're never fully staffed because there's always people coming and going.
Right, yeah, I realize that. I was just trying to get a handle on whether 12 was a lot or not a lot.
What we want.
Any other comments, questions on the consent agenda? Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Mr. Superintendent, your comments?
Yeah, we got quite a few for you tonight. First off, the Education Foundation and the BCs this year, extremely successful, raised over $21,000, the most we've ever done. So thank you again, Mr. Etheridge, and your hospitality for loaning us the watermelon shed. And thank each of you board members for your generosity and your support. It's a good thing. It just goes to tell you what kind of people we have. So one of the things that's coming up that we do every year in February is the calendar committee, and we bring that to you. And so what I would like to have is a volunteer to serve on that committee. Because we'll start that just as soon as we come back in January. Or an appointment.
I think he almost said victim instead of volunteer.
You haven't been through that.
I had a general idea because the rotation of the board and all those things, a more senior person on the board.
I do have experience.
So the right, what
I'll tell you, I have a little experience.
It's not a personal view. I'm saying if we set that up as the vice chair is the person every year who rotates onto that committee, then it would probably tend to always be a senior.
You know, and I'll just go ahead and volunteer and agree.
Okay. I appreciate that, Superintendent, because I think it'll expedite that, and I think it'll bring the board into that room instead of just having this two-party system and then it taking.
That's correct. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Just let me know the date in advance.
We will.
Now, because the board ultimately votes on this, can the volunteers serve as a voting member of that committee?
Well, they don't sit there and the committee doesn't vote, the committee develops 2 calendars.
Develop and then.
Correct.
Okay.
But the board member can be there and give the input from the board and your perspective, just like teachers give their perspective, just like administrators give their perspective. But it will help to educate her or the board, however it is, and so that you understand this process better and she understands this process better, and so that when we go forward, hopefully we'll alleviate any conflicts.
There is not a better person to serve in that capacity than Mrs. Brookie.
Right, I will certainly bring the information back, to you and let you know anything we need, and
And you will not be afraid to voice your opinion.
I will not be afraid of that, that's right.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you. We're moving on.
All right, got 2 more. Just put on your calendars, February 9th.
February the 9th.
February 9th, that is a Saturday night, before Valentine's weekend, and we're gonna have a gala. Yes, that's how we think. Okay, and our gala will be at Williston this year, Williston High School. And something a little bit special, this is our 30th anniversary of the gala this year. And so I can tell you the attire is black. And the table, the colors are black and white, because that was the theme of the first gala was black and white. And so I know that all the table dressing and everything else will be white. So it'll be a formal atmosphere.
And I do know we're having prime rib.
All right, we talked about that.
And garlic mashed potatoes.
And garlic mashed.
Yeah.
Another day for your calendar, I confirmed, we talked with about, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute, our legislative delegation, and, but I've confirmed with Kim McDougal, our lobbyist, about going up in January 10th. I don't have any times. I do know that January 8th is the day of the swearing in, inaugurations. I do know, I believe, am I correct, on the 9th, is that the small district day? Or, I think that's the day NEFAC is going up the small. Correct. And, but the 10th is the day for us, with Kim and Google. She said avoid Mondays and avoid Fridays up there. Correct. Yes, sir.
Is there a date set yet when you're going to Tallahassee to lobby or to talk to DOE about the new chief of middle high school and try to get your ranking? Is there a date set?
I think that's going to be Mr. Hott.
That date has not been set. There will probably be some time in the spring, I would say May, or the first of May, in that area. They have gone through that particular department at DOE has gone through some restructuring. They have a new head of that department. Linda Champion is no longer the head of that department. It's Mark Eckert. So they're kind of in transition, but we don't have a clear direction yet. But we certainly know what we have to do moving forward from that project.
The final thing is, Mr. Calvert and I attended, or not the final thing, the next to the final thing, we attended the Lee County Legislative Delegation meeting last week, and we spoke in here. We have 3 items, and one is our platform that we talked about, and that we approved, and the second item, the thing with the pay that's stable, is the bill that Kim McDougal drafted up. I've spoken personally with Representative Stone. I believe he's going to file this. And I've also been in contact with Senator Mumford and his team. And so I understand Kim has been working very hard on this behind the scenes, and what I've been told, a lot of those up there. So that's that. And also on the, one of our things is Senate Bill 7026 is to fully fund that law. And so I shared with Representative Stone and Senator Bradley Levy County's commitment to meeting this law this year, and also the county's commitment, so that you can see that what we've done with our money, because I know that that's going to be a big deal with our legislature, is that are the districts spending these dollars wisely? And are they spending these dollars on the things that they're supposed to be spending them on? So we try to address that from the front end with our representatives, so that when they get into meetings, that they can certainly say that this is what my districts are doing. Any comments on that, or Mr. Calvert, you are there?
We appreciate the effort that went into this. While we were at the FADS and FSBA conference, I believe it's Police Chief, or no, Sheriff Galtieri, was a member of the commission on the Parkland shooting, came out as a strong proponent of the Guardian program. And so I do believe that you will see a emphasis on that because there was a big pot of money that was not tapped into by many districts throughout the state. So, and I'll leave my comment at that.
And the last item I want to share, we do have a new board member. And up until a month ago, I guess we were master board certified or trained, and now we're kind of not. And this is the process to go through for reinstatement requirements for master board training. And so I'm giving this to you and asking you what direction you would like to take.
It would be just, I did have some conversations with Tina Pinkerson, who's with the FSBA and with the Leadership Services, so it would be just a one-day on-site deal to get reinstated.
Because we just have one new
Because
board
we just
member.
have one
It'll be
person.
the same price that they're charging us,
I believe it's the
half, 18,
yes,
okay.
yes.
All right, and would that be Gainesville or over here, would she?
I think either one, so I think she would come here if that's what we preferred, so whatever.
I've only been through that process one time, but I think it was valuable.
It has value.
That's
Not
very
necessarily-
valuable.
not necessarily just the stand on master board, but the process of, that board goes through, in the learning of our responsibilities and what our responsibilities are and what they are not, and how to effectively work. I'm saying it's actually, to understand what master board training is
Right.
Public-
It's very effective.
public perceives a school board member to be this, but then the reality is, in that process, does that. Mr. Coward, do you agree?
Yes, sir.
And, you know, that you operate within what a school board member should and should not do.
I think it's a good process of going through not only that, but also developing our team so that we can go and we can do the most good that we can for both our students and our staff. So,
And what you do before, each person has to sign, and I have to send that in with the registration.
Okay. So this is, if so be the group's decision, are there any objections to us pushing forward for master board certification?
I think it's a good thing.
And certainly with the one-day thing, shorten it and have that, so I think that's great.
So to do that, we'll pass this down and need your signature for.
And I believe that's all I have, and thank you for.
I want, you know, I was gonna hear, why you got Cameron?
Cameron, you need your input?
I was just corn and shrimp boil. I will 100%.
Okay.
Key component.
That finished Mr. Superintendent's comments and recommendations, and we'll start board comments. Would you want to start on this end, or?
We'll start on this
Okay.
end, because Chris and Cameron, they'll just tell everything.
And they took the gavel, they took the gavel away from me, and now I'm just restricted to being.
I think it was really, really great, the conference that we went to, our school board conference, it was wonderful. Everybody went. I was just so proud of Ashley that attended the entire week and all the classes and education that she got, and it just, one more time, we always say it, but we are so fortunate to have our board and the way we work together, and I think it's our trainings and it's our participation, and it's just our understanding of knowledge and the things that do go on, and they do give you a lot of information about things all over the entire state, I'm just really happy with our board, and I'm happy with the opportunity to go and attend those meetings. So, thank you very much.
Okay. Always appreciate the opportunity to go. We ask our staff, both at our school level and district level, to be professionally developed, and that's our opportunity to go and gain knowledge. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate what FSBA does for us to provide that opportunity, and FADS does for the superintendents, so that we work hand in hand together. I know you probably have noticed too, there's a transition team on education, and I know there may be some hesitation and apprehension, but I'm thankful that Kim McDougal is on that team and is able to be in there to have some conversations and be a part of that and help us navigate whatever landmines may be out there. And I know there's a lot of people that are kind of holding their breath on what will happen with public education, and there's good reason for that. But I know that we won't back down for doing what's right, both trying to get a project done, but also doing something that's right for students like this educational task force. So I appreciate the superintendent and Kim. Talking to Senator Munford, who will be on as the vice chair of the education committee on the Senate, knowing that Senator Diaz, who is a proponent of charter schools and works for academia in Miami-Dade, will be the chair. And then I believe it's Representative Sullivan in the House.
Can I just one it's for profit charter schools?
That's correct. That's correct. So, it was an interesting legislative delegation. Senator Bradley's been appointed chair again. I do believe that there will be a push to get more districts to go into the gardening program. And I believe that will be an emphasis. So I'll put that out there. And today was a good day. We had FFA. It's always good to see kids in the blue and gold. I appreciate the opportunity to go over there and be a part of that process, but just to see. And even when things may look dark, not only are those good kids doing good things, but then I also saw them preparing, I think, bags with drinks and snacks and stuff and carrying them down to first responders. So those kids are definitely cream of the crop and kids that do and excel, do really well for Levy County. So very, very appreciative of that. And I'll leave it. Oh, the Ed Foundation. So we had Judy Bowles, who's a former executive director of Alachua County, and she's now working for NEFEC. She talked to our board yesterday about a process of people that we have that are local people that may be teachers' aides, of trying to work on, they're trying to raise money to possibly do a reimbursement, 50% of their credits to hopefully get maybe people that are aides that have a 2-year degree to go on and get their 4-year degree to be who are embedded in our community. So and they have 31 people throughout the NEFEC district that are doing that. I think it's a wonderful program, and hopefully we can reap the rewards of some of that program possibly.
Just FYI, I went back and double checked. We don't have anybody in the pool, but we have somebody on the pool deck. And so we're trying to get them in the water.
So I think it's a wonderful thing that we can educate our people about to maybe get them out there, and that will help within some of our openings. So thank you, sir.
Mr. Eisner.
Well, since Chris Coward and Paige Brookins have held the conversations, you and I really don't have anything about it.
That's it.
That is never the case, okay? My first thing, I will say this and be on record. I'm scared to death of the Department of Education and what's coming. And I will encourage the members of the press here, if you want to do an interesting expose, let's look into that. That's all I'm saying.
I'm scared of it too.
That's not talking about anybody in particular, that's just said. I will
yeah, follow the briefcases of money, and they'll tell you what's wrong. I will also reiterate what Ms. Brookins said, except I'm gonna say it a different way. And everybody knows this about me. I absolutely hate going to the Florida School Board Association meeting in town. I don't like going to the big city. I don't like being away from my business. I do not like going to staying in a hotel that I can't get a good night's sleep in. The TV isn't my TV. I can't get the temperature right in the room. All those reasons I hate it, but I absolutely love going when I go there for one reason. 95% of the time, the 5 of us have to sit at this table, and it's all business. The big thing is, we live in a little county, and we're probably all related to each other, we've known each other forever. And the big joke is I know everybody's mom. But we do have the opportunity to sit down and eat a meal, not talk about school, we talk about life. And come to find out, we all have great things in common, and we bond up, and I think that leads to us working well. We can sit in all those training classes that we want to, but the reality is 5, 6, well, we count the superintendent as a person, 6 people that sit together, and we laugh and we joke, and we always go to a really good meal, and we sit there, and I got to learn that Mr. Etheridge is half deaf, but there is a cure out there for him. And and we bond up, and I think that's important with any working relationship. It helps to be friends, and I count these folks as my friends, and I enjoy being off with them. I hate being in Tampa, but I enjoy being off with y'all. The other thing I also thought was fantastic, and if you didn't get to see it, it was amazing. Our outhouse lawyer did a great job with his presentation down there on Title IX things. It's a lot deeper than you realize. And I thought you did a great job.
I saved that for you.
You saved that for me. I appreciate it, and I won't take any more of Mrs. Clemens' time. That is all I have at this time.
Well,
You have your speech, right?
My scribble.
No, the new board member has a 15 minutes.
Everybody's tired.
Amen.
I agree 100% with the conference. My mind's still spinning a little bit. There was a lot of information, but every session I took something from it. I disagree with not enjoying Tampa because it's a little mini vacation for me, so I thoroughly enjoyed that part of it. Williston today it was just an amazing day for FFA, and I love seeing all the different kids in the county come together and be friends and kind of cross-pollinate, so it's just a very special day. And for those of you that don't have anything to do on December 18th, the Mighty Stand Nats are having a Christmas play. I told Danae I would announce that, so that's it.
All right. The 18th? Well, Mr. Algo, go ahead.
5:30 on the 18th.
5:30? Okay. Mr. Algo, unlike you, I have quite a few things that haven't been discussed yet, because we have a lot of things in Williston.
Here we go.
Yeah.
In Boston, we just do it. You
Yeah.
don't have to write.
Okay. I had an opportunity, superintendent called me the other day on a whim. I had my ranch work clothes on, but I ran up to Joyce Bullock Elementary, and I don't know, it's probably one of the funnest things that I've done since I've been a board member. Ramona Savona was elected, I guess, right. Oh, she was given the district SRE of the year.
That's correct.
And the look on her face, Ms. Hires was there too, and they had all the students in the media center practicing for the place, and they had a microphone set up. It was just a perfect scenario, and they went and pulled her, and she had no idea. I thought she was gonna pass out. So when you get that response, you know absolutely that it's the right person. And I'm glad I appreciate the phone call, because some phone calls you get are not that fun to go be a part of that once. And so, you know, I'm sure there'll be another one next year in Williston if there is. Just, I'll be glad to go and do it.
And our teacher of the year, district teacher of the year, it's Heather.
Rollins.
Yes, and she's, just FYI, to make family connections, that's Chief Elementary School reading coach. Her sister is Hillary Cruz.
Yeah, she's from Williston.
And I will just, and I'm saying this because this is what she said, but, and I'm doing this on behalf of Ms. Brookins, is that she's just feels so honored and privileged to be the reading coach, to be able to help the kids learn how to read, where she learned how to read.
No, isn't that sweet?
So,
Absolutely. I'm not gonna end with a negative, so I'm gonna bring it now, and this you have all talked about, but the political world in Tallahassee is upside down. From an education standpoint, for sure, but in general, it's, there's a big change, a lot of things are changing, all these transition teams are being put together, or have been put together, so that there's really not, we're going to a legislative session when there's not a lot of light on how the processes are gonna work. So it's gonna be interesting to filter our way through that. I feel this way from my industry that I work for and the school board is, I think we're probably a hedge mate. And that's not always the best place to be, but we've got to be thinking about how we hedge moving forward. I mean, some years we'll be politically where we get things pushed forward and we move things in our direction. Other years we try to divert bad legislation. And I think it's going to be one of those years that we have to understand where we're at, and it's going to be one of those years where we try to divert bad legislation. So that was the negative. The conference was great. I learned a lot of good things, but I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes we have to get out of our element, Mr. Asbell, to try. And I will tell you, that 5-year-old cheese is probably the best cheese I ever ate in my life.
I miss the cheese.
Yes, yes, and I would have never done that in my element, but the 5-year-old cheese was wonderful. And the last thing is we're coming up on that time of year that we stop school and we have Christmas, and we do that for a reason. And Thursday night, we're gonna have all the Williston staff, Joyce Bullitt, the elementary school and the high school have all been invited. We're gonna do a Christmas party out of our package shed, and I think there's about 188 RSVP'd, so we're gonna do what Cameron was talking about, because all of our staff always does this at school, or we go there and do that, so we're not doing that. And we have some entertainment coming, and we're gonna cook a good meal, and we got desserts, and I'm gonna lay the ground rules when we get there. We're not gonna talk about any politics, we're not gonna talk about school. We're gonna talk about the reason for the season, and we're gonna spend a couple hours having a good time on Thursday night. You all are all welcome to come.
Thank you very
And
much.
staff. And Breezy is gonna bring us our tables for us to all sit down and dine and enjoy it. Appreciate your help, Mr. Breezy. Yes, ma'am, Sam. 6:30. 6:30.
Regarding the Guardian program, do you know if any school personnel have signed up for it yet?
Because of when we vote approved that, and the extent of training that goes along with that, the hundreds of hours, we have not put that out there yet for doing so, because they would never be in school. So, but that'll be something other that's on my agenda to talk to the sheriff, and that training will take place during summer.
Hundreds of dollars?
Yes, sir, it's over 100 hours of training.
I think it's 132.
Yes,
I believe, so.
I'm wondering if the legislature is gonna try to dodge more school resource funding and say that we're gonna need these guardians. That's what because when I walked up to Senator Bradley after the session the other day, I told him, well, isn't it better to have trained sheriff's deputies with body armor and big guns walking the halls of the school than a janitor with a gun on his hip? And he said, well, the guardians are there to have more ears and eyes on the ground. So right away, he went right to guardians. So I think maybe Chris is right, that they're going to guardians, but you are going to be lobbying for more money for the, I gather, for school resource officers.
Well, we would like to have the legislation that was passed funded fully, so that we can pay our teachers dollars that we have. Because the legislation was not fully funded. The legislation says school resource officer assigned to each school. That's what it says, but they did not fund that.
Okay, so you're going to be reminding them on that.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
With a lot of us very unhappy with the Department of Education pulling the children out of public schools, are you able to track how many children are leaving the public school system? You have those numbers going to charter, which I know is sort of public, but you have those numbers of...
Yes, ma'am. The only things that we don't have are ones that leave us that we don't know about.
is that number increasing? Are they leaving the public school system to go to homeschooling, that type of thing?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, they go wherever they go, but if they go to private school, we don't know.
But you know they're leaving the public school system to go elsewhere, probably, is what I was trying to find out.
Yes, sir. I'm sure do. But if they leave, it depends on how they go, but if they go to a private school, we don't necessarily know that. I mean, we don't know that that's true.
Okay, so you can't track 100%. Okay, I
No,
was just
we
curious.
can't, because that's their business. and what
Well,
they
no,
do.
I understand, that's a good thing too, but I was just curious if you've seen a decline in public school participation versus homeschooling charter.
Not across the state, you're seeing increased numbers in, so.
But that, some of that also could be offset track through McKay scholarships
Right.
also.
Yeah, there's
Which
a
is
lot of
going
that.
straight to most private schools.
Correct.
So you had to send a memo, you know, the Guardian page saying, how many of you guys are, no, okay. That's why there's nobody training that, huh? That's fine.
But Terry, there's those discussions, I mean, those guidelines, at the discretion. So we had the conversation down the other day, and be transparent with the gentleman that Captain Chris was talking about a while ago. So, you know, the discussion may be, well, at the beginning, that the sheriff was the only one able to do that training. Now the discussion may be that there are a lot of agencies that may be able to do that training. And then, you know.
There may be, there's more than likely, there's going to be some tweaking of the legislation because of the training only being through. So you could look at maybe like a College of Central Florida Police Academy, Santa Fe Police Academy, places like that, maybe training, so. And you're looking that there's several different layers of the Guardian program also.
And at the end of that, I'm gonna give you my synopsis. At the end of that, we have to make sure that it's not something you drive by and stick a quarter in a bubble gum machine and get one. We need to make sure that what we put in place for security of our schools is that.
Rigorous.
Now, don't water the legislation out to the point that we miss the intent of what we started Safe Schools for, is my concern. Under the jurisdiction of the sheriff of the county and him training, even though that probably costs a lot more, it may not cost a lot more.
Are these people gonna be paid on the guardians? If you ever have one that wants to be there, will they be paid, you know?
If it's funded, I mean, there's more questions to me than there is answers, am I right? So how do you put that out and start training them when we know none of these answers because legislation?
The only thing that's in the statute is the conversation or the language about a $500 supplement. However, any things like that have to be negotiated through our union.
All of that just came out while we were down there, so that when that report was coming out. And so it's
I guess
still,
the question I have too is, let's say a janitor is hired is appointed as a guardian. Where's the gun that he would use to stop an armed threat in the school? Would he carry that with him, or?
Well, any kind of information like that would be part of the security plan. And that would be confidential.
Well, I think the public would like to know.
Well, you can't tell the public where the gun is. If he's gonna protect it, first thing to do, go get his gun. There you think
If you got a janitor walking the halls unarmed, he's not gonna be able to stop an armed threat. You know, that's-
If he's trained with 136 hours of training. Well, that's what they said it takes to be a guardian, right?
Yeah.
If he goes through the training,
This all seems a little foggy yet, you know?
that's what I'm trying to say, and that's the reason the superintendent hadn't put the memorandum out to start the process, because it's foggy. I think that's the answer, am I right?
Yes, sir. A lot of times it's
just have
easier
that,
to wait and get answers before we jump.
just have that dog circle back around to that first thought you had, so.
Jason, stay on. Okay, look there, 1 minute before 8, and if there's no other comments, no more action items, do we have executive?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. If there's no objection, we'll adjourn.